All right, hello everybody and welcome to Game Changers. This has been great, it's been exciting, and I'll tell you, the people we have met have been absolutely outstanding, and today is no exception. I really like this guy. We spent some time a couple months ago talking about the Lehigh Valley, the community, how much he wanted to make an impact. So Howard Meller, it's great to have you, President and CEO of People's First. It is great to see you again and again. I guess that would be my first question. I really was impressed by, some people come here and certainly they want to do business, which you want to do and are doing, but you were really concerned about the community and how you could impact it, and that impressed me.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me on your show also. I appreciate it. One of the things that I consider to be important with my position is that I spend time in the community and I learn the needs and wants of the community members at large, individual and business members. So it was really important to me. I started last September. I think I met with you at the end of October. I was only here for about a month when we first met. And really, for me, my goal is to really be accessible to the communities and where we do business and to be available. So it's really important for me to meet the leaders of industry, the leaders of business, and just to say hello and let them know who I am and and what People First can do for them.
I think everyone we meet and we talk to in these Game Changers pieces, it's interesting. So how did you get, President and CEO, but how did you get into the whole banking business, if you will, and kind of just a little bit about you and who you are?
Oh, sure. So getting into the banking business goes back my entire career. So I grew up in New York City. I grew up in Staten Island. So Brooklyn boy born, but moved to Staten Island, migrated to the suburbs, and went to school.
Howie, did you enjoy that? Was it a good place to grow up from your perspective? It must have been really.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful place. I mean, I really grew up under modest means. I mean, I lived in a 1,200 square foot home with my mom, my dad, my two brothers, and my 95-year-old grandmother, and so the six of us shared 1,200 square feet, and it was just a nice place to grow up, and really I think it led a lot to who I am today. So but going to school, I decided that I liked finance and economics. So I was an economics major. Then I went on for my MBA at St. John's. I was working at one of the money center banks in New York City at the time, at Manufacturers Hanover Trust. Right, no longer around. But yeah, so I worked at MHT, went through a training program, learned a lot about banking, a lot about the industry, and really decided to make it my career. And I worked in the city for probably about 20, 30 years in retail banking, both frontline and back office, learning all the operations. And then I moved down to Virginia. I had been recruited by SunTrust, moved down to Virginia, spent about 7 years down in Virginia, which was really interesting. I mean, I learned a lot. Again, learning about people. I love to learn and really figure out what's going on and who's who. And I never had real exposure to the South before. And I was living in Williamsburg, and it's different. It really is. Then I had an opportunity to come back up north to work at a credit union in Binghamton. And then from Binghamton, the opportunity of People First opened. Headhunter reached out to me, and I always tell everybody, when someone reaches out to you, talk. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation, see what you can do. And it was a perfect fit. And I have to tell you, I really do love being here. Lehigh Valley is very similar to where I grew up and where I lived most of my life in northern New Jersey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love being here.
Yeah, and plus you're close and get good pizza close by,
Exactly. Pizza and bagels.
My opinion, nothing close to northern Jersey and Staten Island. The whole area, the food quality is absolutely incredible.
You are correct, but again, the restaurants here were great. I mean, traveling around like I did, you learn a lot about bad food. Yeah. So it's nice to be back where we have good food and good cuisine.
What do you like most about when now, at People's, what are your priorities going to be now that you're here and you're really entrenched in the community, and I think thankfully you like it here? What do you see as your priorities?
So my priorities right now in terms of the credit union, is really integrating the credit union into the community. We did some of the PPP loans to help out, at the beginning of the pandemic. But one of the areas that I'm really concentrating on is the business community. It's an area that people first is lacking in terms of doing business with. Really grew throughout the retail trade and really didn't bring the business customers and commercial customers along. So one of the things that we're really focused on now is really just letting everyone know who we are. That and I shared this with you when we first met, and it's gotten even worse. I have more money than I know what to do with right now because of the stimulus. Everybody is holding on to their stimulus money, so we have a lot of money to lend, and I'm really just looking for the right places to put it and the right people to help out.
I wonder what you thought about how, when I think of the PPP early on, I think it wasn't a perfect process, but I do think it really early on stages helped a lot. And as you said, a lot of, kept a lot of businesses afloat. It almost appears now that I hate to be too optimistic, and I don't want to be, but the economy is looking pretty good, and hopefully people will continue to spend some of this excess dollars. I mean, there was some real savings that went on during the pandemic. Your thoughts on the future of the economy, at least in the short term?
Sure. I think I mean, personally, I believe that the economy is going to start opening up, especially now with the change in the CDC and Pennsylvania guidelines for the mask wearing. In terms of the numbers, the way that I see it industry wide is, I think that interest rates are going to stay flat for the next year or so, even with the inflation pressure, because people are spending. So there is a little inflationary pressure out there right now, but I really don't believe that there's really going to be too much of a change in interest rates. In terms of the businesses themselves,
So
and
excuse me, how you're not too terribly concerned about inflation, or you're
not right now, no. I think that I think that what we're seeing in terms of the numbers is just the pressure from everybody starting to spend some money, but I think it's going to level out. I think that at least for the next year or so, as long as the Fed keeps control and works with the Treasury, that inflation will be kept low. In terms of businesses, I can tell you that tracking the business through credit card usage and debit card usage, that people are starting to go out. I can see the increase in the card usage. I can see that it's going to more retail and restaurants. So we're seeing a greater usage of debit and credit cards in the community, as opposed to during the pandemic. You could see that there was a lot of groceries, there's a lot of Walmart and a lot of Target. So people just getting their essentials and not going anywhere. But now we're starting to see a greater use of the debit and credit cards.
So savings, you said, it sounds like your savings dollars increased because people were not using, and that was pretty clear. You saw that. I mean, you hear that, but you did see that.
Oh yes, savings increased tremendously. I mean, I'll give you an example. Is when I started here, we were a $750 million institution, and I've been here 10 months, and we're about $840 million now. So in 10 months, we grew $90 million. That's not typical for the credit union industry or a bank, quite frankly, for that, that percentage change. So there's a lot of money that came in through the stimulus that people are holding on to.
That's great. I mean, so again, I think we're in a much better. It was I'm sure you remember, it was a pretty dark universe in April and May of last year. We didn't know where this was going, and thankfully, as I said, most businesses have stayed afloat. Restaurant hospitality's been tough. But Howie, I want to ask you a question that a lot of people ask, and I don't even know. And I finally have you, and I can ask you the difference between between a credit union and a bank, as we know it, a traditional bank. What are the differences?
Sure. So credit unions really started out of the Depression, and it was really groups of individuals that were getting together, that were helping each other. So small groups of people that were just forming their own individual banks to give loans and create savings. And credit unions historically, up to this day, operate off of that model. So to join a credit union, you belong for people first. So for my credit union, you have to live in the Lehigh Valley in order to join. So you become a member of a credit union, whereas on the bank side, you become a customer, and anyone can walk into a bank and become a customer.
Gotcha.
In order to join the credit union, you have to belong, you have to live in the Lehigh Valley.
Gotcha.
In addition to which, we function as traditional banks. The way that you would think of traditional savings banks is we take in deposits from our members and we loan them out to our members. So all we really do is take deposits and lend them out, and don't get involved in any, fancy stuff, any derivative trading, any stuff like that.
Mhm.
But if you really think of the old traditional banks that, the Main Street banks,
Yep.
That's really what a credit union does. Credit union helps the small mom and pop shops, helps the community, but doesn't go looking to build a hotel.
Gotcha.
Or doesn't. So that's really the difference.
So would it be like auto loans, or things that would help your typical, your members? It's again,
exactly,
people getting together saying, hey, let's help each other.
Yep. The other piece of that is on the credit union side. Credit unions, and I can talk for all credit unions pretty much, is we do our own underwriting. So all the underwriting takes place right in the Lehigh Valley for People First. So we make all of our loan decisions here. It doesn't go to a centralized location. When I worked for the big banks, the underwriting would take place in Texas, and I was sitting in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So nobody really had a sense or feel for who the business was for. It was more about the fact, do the numbers line up? On the credit union side, there's a subjective piece of it where we have conversations about, we know that Howie went through some hard times, and we can do this loan for him. Interest rate might be a little bit higher just because there's a greater risk, but we're still going to do the loan, as opposed to going to the bank and the bank saying, it's black or white because we have shareholders we need to answer to.
Gotcha. So maybe someone that went through a divorce or illness or something, you can maybe, you said the rate might be higher, but you can be there for them, maybe take a little bit of a risk because that's what you're here for, to help your members.
Yeah, and that's it. That's exactly what a credit union is in business to do.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to bring in Allison Pickle, who has some great questions, probably much better than mine.
Oh, now I'm afraid.
Yeah, now the hard-hitting stuff. Here we go with the hard.
Yeah, you're ready. Howie needs a drink of water before I jump on. Well, before I delve into my questions, Howie, I have to say, I think you have the coolest glasses there.
Oh, thank you.
Sharp frames you got. But yeah, early on in the questions, you had said that you love people, love learning about people, and we are at the Chamber, we're in the people business. And so I think particular during COVID, when we were working from home, morale was really important, keeping morale high. And I know for you, that's important with your staff. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that looks like and how you keep people positive and uplifted and just inspired to do a really good job for the credit union?
Good question.
And you're right, with COVID, it was tough, and it is tough. But really what we've done what we really did for the team right up front at the beginning of COVID was we addressed all the health concerns and all the concerns that they had about, because we're a retail establishment. Right? So we need to be open. We need to be open to the public. So people were really concerned about that. So the first thing we did was just take care of all the stuff that we could in the sense of making people feel safe in their work environment. And all of my teammates that work behind the scenes, we ordered a whole lot of laptops, and everybody started working from home, which isn't the ideal way to do business for us because we like being around people. But we were able to get everybody comfortable in the environment and comfortable doing their jobs in extraordinary circumstances. Mm-hmm. And then as we started bringing people back, we actually held small team meetings and answered people's addressed concerns, addressed what is going on. And then we actually operate in smaller teams where we just talk to one another. It's really just about being available and open. So lots of training and development going on. So in the downtime of COVID, we brought in some outside training consultants to do some training for our team, which they were able to do online. And so we've had some training going on just to help develop people. So in downtime where we weren't as busy, we were able to do some training.
Nope, that's great. And I know we've done the same too with our chamber staff, just checking in, seeing how each other's doing and really taking that time to develop ourselves. Well, we talked a little bit about, we know you love the restaurant scene in the Lehigh Valley and you've traveled. What is it about the Lehigh Valley that really stands out to you, that you really love, that's different from all the other places that you've lived and worked?
What's really different for me is the friendliness of everybody. Everybody, right? I'm an outsider, and I've just been going out and saying, "Hey, I'm here," and people have been really receptive and friendly and willing to talk about their business, willing to talk about their lives, willing to talk about what it means to be new in the Lehigh Valley, things I should be looking out for, things that I should be doing. Some of the other places that I've lived, it's not been that way. It's been more of you're here, so make yourself fit in. In the Lehigh Valley, everybody wants you to fit in, and really is very warm and welcoming.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Go ahead, Allie. Sorry, I just
No, though, and I would agree. One of the things that I was born and raised here, and the reason why I stay here is because everyone is so incredibly welcoming. And we talked about your work experience and all the great things you're doing with People First Federal Credit Union. What do you like to do outside of the office? What do you enjoy? What's fun for you?
Fun for me is travel and traveling with my family. I have two. My wife and I have been married 30 years, and we have two daughters in their 20s. So up to this day, we still travel as a family unit. So I really love spending time traveling with my family, just going somewhere warm. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything special, but just somewhere warm and with my family. So that's really what I enjoy doing. And also I will say that having raised two daughters, I do spend a lot of time shopping. And I prefer taking dad out shopping than mom because I'm a little more generous.
I believe that to be true. Tony has two daughters and I'm one of two. So I know how that works pretty well. But I think one of the last questions I have is, what are three things that we should know about Howie Meller? What are three things that we can take away from today's interview?
One is that I want to learn about you. So, let me learn. I mean, I just love to hear people talk about themselves and what they're doing and who they are. Number two is that as a leader of an organization, I want the best for my teammates. So one of the things that I really would in my career want to be remembered for is the guy that helped other people develop and move on and move their careers forward. And number three is that that I'm a nice person. I mean, really, so I'm thinking about things that I want people to really take away from knowing me. Is that I'm a nice person. I really am genuine and respectful, and I really want what's best for everyone, not just my teammates, but just overall. So yeah, when I think of myself, that's how I envision myself. That's just how I live my life.
And that's why you're fitting in so well in the Lehigh Valley. I was thinking about that. There's nothing. You're just a humble but successful and good person, and those are good traits for you. Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, I wanted to ask you real quickly before we lose you, I should say. Anything on from the diversity, equity, inclusion, important initiative for you in the organization going forward?
It is an important initiative for us. We've been spending a lot of time, again, with everyone being offline, doing a lot of my HR team has been doing a lot of training around DEI and working on programs that we can roll out. We don't have a dedicated officer doing that right now. It's embedded in my HR group, but we have been paying careful attention, and really, I mean, we like to hire diverse teammates. And one of the issues that I have right now is finding enough people to join the organization, which I know is difficult for everybody right now. But yeah, we have a strong focus on that, and it really is important.
Yeah, I think you're not.
Well, I was going to say one of the first things I did, you just reminded me, is when you were talking about me first getting here, is Bradbury Sullivan. We became I signed on the dotted line with them to become a lead sponsor because it's so important, for equity in the community, and just I don't know. It's like I was just saying, I don't see people for anything besides being a person. So it's really important for me for people not to be left out or excluded or left behind.
Howie Meller, you're going to make an impact on the organization and this community. I can tell that. I'm really thankful that you're here. I'm going to turn over to Allison, who's going to wrap us up because we're just at our time. I mean, we don't have a buzzer that goes off, but I want to make sure, I guess, if there's anything you, Allison, or Howie has to say before we sign off. But you're a good guy.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. You're a pleasure I mean, I'm seriously, I look forward to working with you in the future.
Okay. Allie, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tony. And thank you so much, Howie, for joining us today. Hey, we look forward to continuing the conversation with you and our partnership. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Game Changers. We look forward to seeing you next time. Check out the Chamber social media platforms to catch up on all past Game Changers. Thanks so much, Tony and Howie. Have a great day.
Howie Meller, you're a good man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.